story should be original enough, either your own personal story, or if you leverage someone else's experience as a story, personalize it. It doesn't really connect with your audience if you tell Nelson Mandela's story from a Facebook post as a speech on the stage. Either tell your own story, however small, however humble, however inconsequential to you, your own self, it may be, it may change someone else's life if told the right way. Or even if I tell how Nelson Mandela has inspired thousands of people, let me share along the way my own example, how I got inspired by that. And that is how we can personalize even an already existing story. So as Mr. Vlad said, uh, and a few others said, it should reflect your true feelings. It doesn't help if you tell verbatim what you read, found somewhere else. Interpret, personalize. That personal touch is being authentic. You yourself are a speaker, not a news reader. Please bear that in mind. A lot of times, guilty as charged, I myself have done it, regrettably, in the earlier days of Toastmasters, 10 years back perhaps. I found out some good Facebook posts, told that story as it is. My mentor was smart enough, and he was the evaluator that day. He told, this is not going to cut it. Are you trying to be a speaker, a storyteller, or a newsreader? So that is where being authentic helps. Nimit, please give me a thumbs up if you have started the recording. Nimit? Rupinder?
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much. So that is the authentic part. Now, whatever story that came to your mind, reflect. Since you felt something, it popped up in your head, you were involved in that, immersive in that experience. That is why you could feel something over there. Now, if you take that as a story in the making, it will stay as an authentic experience, So I think it ticks on the authentic scale, that personal experience that you thought of. Hold on to that because the next few elements are going to be relevant on that. Second element out of these A, B, C, D, E, the B. It should be believable. It should be believable. What do we mean by believable? Few thoughts. Feel free to raise your hand instead of going through chats. There are a lot of chats coming in. Raise your hand, share it maybe verbally. That will be quick. What do we mean by being believable?
Credible.
Credible. Anyone else?
Means that don't say that I went to moon and came back. Tell something like I went from Delhi to Mumbai. Something what people can believe.
Your good name?
Abhinav.
Thank you, Abhinav. Probably on the same line. Anyone else? Congruent with the speaker. Yes, ma'am.
Imaginable.
Your good name first. Your good name first. Sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Yeah, Ritu.
Ritu. Thank you, Ritu. So let me just pull all of them together. And once again, Lard is probably the closest. Believable to who? Not to you. All right. So Deepa, I will address this precise question. If authentic already, then why not believable? Okay. So Vlad is probably the closest. Believable to who? Not to the speaker, but to the customer.
Audience.
Who is the customer of the speaker? The audience. Whether the direct audience or whether even, let's say, the audience who is going to watch it later, hear it later, maybe in a book, through a movie, anywhere else. Even if it's a story that's passed on generations after generations, or even as a water cooler gossip around the office. It is believable only if the listener chooses to believe in it. How does it happen? One example we saw. If within the confines of this story universe, it is possible to travel in space, then only it becomes believable that I went last weekend on Mars, had a date over there, brought my date to the moon, I left her there and came back to Earth. that is not going to be believable otherwise. Well, that's a very far-fetched example. Let me make it even, more congruent to you. Believable is where I know within the confines of my story universe, something I personally feel doesn't sound or feel awkward. If it feels laughable by my own instincts, I should not probably present it to my audience without mentioning in the joking manner, or maybe jokes aside after the line. Otherwise, people may take it serious. If they take it seriously, then they are not going to take you seriously after that. So if you have to remain serious, be believable. To Deepa's question, by authentic, I mean something that you have a stake in, take that as an experience and tell as a story. Not someone else's, not a plagiarized content, not a story which you don't have any iota of relation with, and you claim it your own and present it. That is cheating. But even if it's your own story, all right, so even if it's your own story, and unless it is a tall tales contest and you exaggerate in a joking fashion, mention either that it is tall tale or joking, or this is just a casual banter. Otherwise, don't exaggerate it beyond the mark of being believable. That's a very thin line. How do we know when we are crossing this line? Sometimes by committing that mistake, maybe in a smaller audience, so that we don't repeat the mistake at the larger audience level. Only suggestion I can give on that part is commit this mistake as soon as possible, so you know when you are being taken seriously, when you are not. Audience response, evaluations, feedback is everything. So Deepa, I hope I have answered your question about being authentic versus being believable. Anhad has raised his hand. Anhad, you have a particular question?
Yes.
Please ask.
So the fact is that when you talk about being believable and being authentic, the fact is that you can be both at the same time, and you can be one at the same time, one and the second at different times. But the fact is, the fact is that if you want to keep a story believable, so to speak, you have to keep it authentic, because if you don't keep it authentic, nobody is going to believe you. People are going to call you a plagiarizer. And if even so, for example, I say something like Bombay is the capital of India, nobody is going to believe me. All right, it might be authentic, but nobody is going to believe me. But if I say something which someone 5 seconds before me has just said, people are not going to call me as authentic either, and people are not going to believe me either.
So
the
let's
fact is
understand it this
that
way. Let's understand it this way. As Vlad said, he was under the impression that Bombay is the capital of India. That is the impression he had, while in reality it is Delhi. So there are two things. One is being factually correct or incorrect. That is your logic or the research part. We are talking about storytelling in the emotional realm. So a storyteller, if wants to leave an emotional impact, audience should be connected, involved, right? Immersed in that experience. And for that, something should not come as a kind of awkward remark or a fact that suddenly everyone just switches off. Oh, where did that come from? So believable is all about a feeling that yes, I take that as it might have happened, or what the speaker means jokingly or seriously is possible. If it's possible, it is believable. If it is not, then not. It has nothing to do with being factually correct or not. Take example of your personal casual banter with your own friends. Sometimes we exaggerate it to a level, even then we keep it under the believability box. It happens. That is how humor works. The humor is supposed to be beyond the factual reality or something else. It is in the possible or believable box. So believable is a thin line of feeling. factual is a cast in stone kind of line. It's either that way or this way. So once again, don't get confused with the terminologies. Terminologies are just for helping you understand. It's all about staying connected with the feeling. If it's your own story or the story that you have personalized, it is called authentic because you believe in it. If you believe in it, your audience will as well. If it is believable in the possibility of, within the confines, you don't find it awkward, so you are very jovial about it. If you yourself find it awkward, that will reflect in your own emotional delivery, and your audience will not find it possible. That is all about being authentic and believable. We'll come back to that. If you have a question, park it for the end. We move on to the third, C. Third element is C. So we know how a typical story structure works. We are not going to describe that in detail. We all know there is a protagonist, a hero. In Hindi, we call him Nayak. We associate our emotional congruency with him or her. It can be a people, it can be a person, it can be an animal, it can be a community, it can be a group, it can be a country, anyone. So fact is, we see the world from the eyes of our hero, the protagonist. Take the word hero as a gender neutral here. It can be a female as well or a non-human as well. So we see the world from the eyes of our hero. We feel cheerful when there is something happy happening in their lives. We feel sad, or at least the sane people should feel sad if there is something abnormal happening in their lives. We feel connected with them because we find ourselves in our hero's shoes. So there is an protagonist. He has a problem in his life. He solves this problem and her life returns back to normalcy. That is how the life works in a story. That is typical story structure. You can throw an antagonist, a villain, a challenge, a problem, papa nahi manenge, dad won't agree, that kind of problem. Problem can take any form, but the hero is distinguishable. So we have a hero and he has a problem is solved, and life comes back to normal. That is the typical story structure. But for this structure to be effective emotionally, C is important. C stands for context. Set up the context so well within the minimal time possible that we give a damn about that hero or his problem or his life. Take example, any favorite movie that you have. I will perhaps take, let's say, Cinderella story, just to keep it globally relevant. Cinderella. There is a young girl. Her stepmom is very cruel to her, and she finds a prince. They fell in love, and the story of the shoe, etc., etc. I don't care about it. I frankly don't give a damn about this girl unless I am given a peek into her life, how it is in the beginning, and how this stepmom enters as a problem or a villain. Then my interest starts speaking. Take example of any favorite movie that you may have locally, maybe Avengers Infinity War. We care about Thanos over there because he has been given a context, little context over the course of 22 movies. Take example of Harry Potter. We get so associated with Harry Potter in the first movie itself, not because he enters Hogwarts, but because he has a life before going to Hogwarts under that staircase on 9 Privy Drive with his cruel uncle and aunt. And that is where our emotional connection happens with this young 10-year-old boy, Harry Potter. Unless that happens, I don't feel pity, sympathy for that child. That is where he becomes my hero, not when he goes to Hogwarts and starts flashing those wands. That is all about setting up the context. A context also helps you mentally to fill the scenery. The moment I say It was 1943 on a battlefield. Now, immediately your mind will start going back to 1943, how the battlefield would have looked like. There would be bayonets, tanks, World War II soldiers from both the sides. You won't find a horse chariot with a sword, kind of Athenian or Greece, or maybe those mythological era warriors. Your mind will start filling up scenario with just the right context setting: time, place, people. Just set up that, give a glimpse into their normal life even before the problem enters. Context. The more beautifully you set up the context, the more emotionally I, as an audience, as a listener, would feel connected with. Your speeches, if are of length 7 minutes, set up maybe 1.5 minutes in the context. Invest that much time in the context setting if you want your audience to give a damn about your protagonist. It may be you, it may be someone else. We'll show that as an example towards the end. I have a mini story, authentic enough, believable enough, and I have a context over there. One last example on the context part. Whenever you go to a movie, let's say it's a 2-hour movie, what if you enter this cinema hall 20 minutes late? You perhaps will not feel as connected with the story as your friend who arrived early would have felt. And that is where the context kicks in. You will simply ask, what happened? Your friend will tell you, nothing major. He is hero. He is hero's father. He is hero's would-be girlfriend. Hero is going to try and woo her. That's it. But it is actually the experience, that journey of the last 20 minutes, easily summed up in 2 lines. But that summary experience over 20 minutes, that is where the context-driven connection happens. So for connection, an emotional connect, context is paramount. Those 1 minute, initial 1 minute in a speech is perhaps more important than even the climax. Mark my words, right itself, right now. Anyone who agrees, give me a thumbs up. Anyone who doesn't, give me a raise of hand. I will probably take a question here itself. If you are sleeping, do nothing. Let's see if someone gives a thumbs up or not. So I see a few thumbs up. Thank you so much for staying awake. We move on now, after being authentic, believable, and context, to the D. Another element to help me connect with the context as well as the overall emotional punch of this story is depth. Depth in stating, devising your characters. If you simply say, a king had 4 sons, the younger son was probably the wisest of them all, that's it, I perhaps will feel mildly corrected, because you at least gave me something as a depth about that character. He was a smarter one. What if I invest 2-3 more lines, qualities, habits, mannerisms, position comparative to the other characters in this story? This makes me feel even more connected to that character. Depth. Now, in a probably, just to stay relevant, in a frame of 7 minutes, how do we give depth to characters? Up your adjective game. Find out the proper most adjectives to describe that person, maybe as a trial, as an alliteration. Maybe let me describe a few people here to you, and tell me after hearing this 1 line or 2, can you connect with that gentleman over here or not? I have my mentor, Toastmaster Rupinder DTM over here. He is a mentor, not just in Toastmasters, but in life. He is the most calm, composed, and patient person I have come across. And I owe my infinite thanks to him for staying in Toastmaster even till date. Now, do you feel some kind of aura around this person? Now, since Saurindra know him even more intimately, I'm sure if I show Rupinder over here, you perhaps will feel this person looks a bit threatening. It feels like he may get offended instantly if I play my role wrong. That happens with me because I have that kind of camaraderie with him. But the kind of description that I gave, you instantly feel like he either has a halo, or if I deliver, introduce him to you the other way, he may have some invisible horn coming out of his head. Point here is your words have magic. Your words have power to put spotlight on your characters and give them depth. Make us know them personally on a level that would have been otherwise possible after staying months and years with them. That is the magic of context setting along with depth in character. In typical Bollywood movies, I'm sorry to take this example, especially the South Indian movies. Now, audience knows who is the hero. That is written in the poster or maybe the online link on which we click. This is the main cast. Even then, the moment hero enters the scene, slow motion, flowing hair, and kind of bike stunt or maybe 10 extras dancing in the background. The heroine comes with a side angle face and turns to you, flicks her hair, and all that happens in slow motion because they want to put extra emphasis, a spotlight on this character. That is a visual kind of depth given to this character. Sometimes a small deed in one line, small spotlight is being reminded. Thank you. So sometimes it's just a small deed told in one line, give me an impression about a character right in the beginning that, okay, this guy or girl or an animal is a kind one, large-hearted one. Or this is a petty character, he must be on the villain side. That happens. In a typical example of movies in Hindi as well as in English, if people feel cheerful, whistle standing on their seat when Thanos wipes half the universe, probably that becomes your hero. You feel more connected to him and you feel pretty happy about the Spider-Man or Black Panther disintegrating into thin air. And in Hindi audience, the Indian audience, probably you would have hardly seen anyone whistling to Amrish Puri, delivering a dialogue and kicking your hero Amitabh Bachchan or Shah Rukh Khan. That probably never happens because the context has been set that way. The person has been shown having positive, the halo qualities, or the horn, the negative qualities in the beginning. So authentic, believable, context setting with a depth given in the characters. What are we missing? Something that makes a speech, a movie, a book, anything fun. Where is the fun element? Can someone show what we mean by E over here? Any answer is right answer, but Nasir, it's E. You need to think on E.
Experience.
Emotion is the overall thing. Experience is perhaps the entire thing encompassing is an experience, emotional experience. Entertainment. Exactly. Entertainment. How do you bring this? Ahmadullah, my salute to you. Can we just, wherever we are sitting, mute or not, have a round of applause for Ahmadullah? Because he nailed it. We bring this element of entertainment by exaggerating. Exaggeration is a tool of the most divine of the writers, directors, actors, speakers, performers. A magic show can become a heavily serious one unless there is a bit of exaggeration, fun, naughty element. A speech, even if it's a sob story, an emotional wreck. Find out any of the finalist speeches of Toastmasters in the recent years. Even the winners you can take, probably. Every one of them has a gut punching kind of element, a heart wrenching kind of turn and twist. But they never left their funny side at home. They have it mandatorily because they know the easiest, quickest, and the most memorable way to connect with your audience is exaggeration, fun, humor. I recall my own district final speech last year. It was all an emotional story, my painful love story with my wife, an arranged marriage. wrapped in a fun way. It was exaggerated to that level that I painted myself as the most pitiful person ever and my wife as the most evil person ever for the initial 90 minutes. And then last 10 minutes was the reverse way. So that is how the story was structured. The point here is, if you exaggerate using either depth to your characters or that flowery language, that visually descriptive elements in capturing the whole scene, that exaggeration stays within the box of believability, because you know, if people are laughing, if you are laughing, it may be on the beyond the realm of truth, but it is possible because it is humorously exaggerated. I'm as fast as Flash whenever somebody shows me a pizza. Factually, I'm not as fast as Flash. But you find it believable. How? Because it is exaggerated. Another example of exaggeration. Let's see. I am as hardworking as a donkey and quite as foolish as the one when my mom tells me something to do. I do it diligently, but with the smartness of a donkey and the hard work of a donkey, because my heart and soul is not into it. I'm just doing it just to please her or just to evade her ear full of brashing. Can anyone else tell me an example of a one-liner with exaggeration? How about you, Saurendra? Saurendra Bhaumik, you are a master of humor. So how about you? Exaggeration. Yes, Saurendra.
What could it be? I'm
Anything.
as lazy as what would be a simile to a cow, but otherwise I'm a good muncher.
So that reminds me a compliment given to me by my wife. She says, "Kis magarmach se meri shadi kara di." She curses her mom, "You got me married to a crocodile," because all he does, even before lockdown, is sleep on the sofa all day on the weekend and bath inside, not even in the sun. So that is how she exaggerated my laziness to that level. Thank you so much. Nimisha Singla, how about you? Try it out. Thank you, Ahmed. Nimisha, over to you. Nimisha.
Yeah, I just wanted to give an example. Like, how about she mentors me like a mother-in-law?
Say again.
She mentors me like a mother-in-law.
Who is she?
I mean, if I have to give an example of someone, and like if I talk about, even if I say about my mentor, so I can say to over exaggerate that she mentors me like a mother-in-law.
Exactly. So you know how a mother-in-law is supposed to be in typical caricature. That is a person who is authoritative, a person who finds fault in you at the drop of a hat, and all of their characteristics. So probably that is the exaggeration through similes, metaphors, through kind of alliterations we are looking for. One good example was given by someone in the chat. I just read the chat. I'm such a sound sleeper that even an earthquake can't wake me up. Of course, in reality, if an earthquake comes, and a heavy one, God forbid, then you don't need to wake up. That's a fact. But you are such a sound sleeper that nothing can wake you up. That's a good example, on point, on the right money example of exaggeration. Vlad, would you like to share an example if you are still there?
I don't know. I had a few, but I forgot them.
Okay, thank you. Clear enough. One last example on probably exaggeration part. Remember, we were talking about Mars and Moon and all that under Tall Tales. The entire structure of framework of Tall Tale, our humorous speech, is built all out on exaggeration. Audience tend to laugh less on plain facts. You need to add tadka, you need to add spice of exaggeration sometimes, and this works wonders. Ahmad, you raise your hand if you have. Rupinder Singh has an example. So Rupinder, you share one, and then I will take one last example from Ahmad if he has one. Rupinder, go ahead.
Okay, between my wife and my computer, I don't know which one is more difficult, but I find solace in the fact that I can always shut down my computer.
And conversely speaking, your wife perhaps may format you for that remark. I am as clueless as a KBC contestant without lifelines. Oh my God, you just won my heart, man. That was such a nice, humorous, exaggerated example. Thank you so much, Ahmad. Well, let us refresh our memory with these 5 elements and how do they. I always fail in waking up early, more like dogs fail. Good. So let us recount our memory as a summary for this session. Be authentic. How do you become authentic? Either a memory that you have from your personal life, let it trigger on the cue of a word, another example, a table topic that you saw, a topic that you heard someone else speaking about. Let it trigger something inside you on emotional part. That single screen, that single image or a movie reel can be a seed of a future great world championship winning speech. Capture that, authentic enough. Second, you read something, you watched something, you heard something, you misheard something, anything that you feel you can customize, personalize, try to attach your own personal thing to it. And that can be a good personalized, customized example of something which already exists. I stand corrected. Anhad, I have been mispronouncing your name for some time. Pardon me for that. Anhad. Thank you so much for sharing that great example earlier. Now, that is all about being authentic, believable. If it is possible to you yourself, try that out on a smaller audience, possible to them themselves. Probably it will fly with other audience as well. It will be taken as possible, believable, not awkward, and will not disconnect your audience, switch off your audience in between a speech. Sometimes to make it believable, the right choice of synonym also matters a lot. So the most speeches, as Rupinder said in the last session, are not the ones which are written. The best speeches are the ones which are rewritten, redraft, draft, and redraft. The more possible, the more you rewrite it, the more closer to perfection this overall draft becomes, the more believable as well it becomes. Third, what is C? Anyone? Authentic, believable. C for?
Context setting.
Context. You know how to set a context? When, where, who. Your what is the problem and how it is solved will come later. But before this what and how, your when, where, and who needs to be set as a context. So that this when, where, who as a context, this what as a problem, this how as a solution, and towards the end, why as the moral of the story can complete this entire 5W1H. This context of when, where, and who, this what is a problem, this how it is solved, completely cap off with a why as a conclusion, a moral of the story, completes your story / speech. So this is how I probably visualize any speech. And this what and why becomes even more relevant. This who becomes even more deeper, more associate, we can associate more with them if you give a depth in the characters. Give a depth to your characters. Sometimes it's not just about living or non-living characters. The depth can be given to a place as well, an organization as well, a country as well. Some of the speeches that I have heard, they have described a place called, let's say, Ladakh or Mumbai, etc., to that level where, thank you so much, it has described a place to that level that I have taken the place itself as a, probably as a strong character in that speech. So that is how powerful the depth with 1 or 2 lines briefly in the 7-minute speech can do wonders. And last but not least, exaggerate. You wouldn't have liked this entire 1 minute, 1 hour monologue if there was no fun element in it. And I thank you. I can't thank you enough for bringing your own humorous takes, those one-liners, exaggeration examples in here, because that is what kept the session alive. Imagine your 7-minute speech, unless you have at least 2 to 3 to 4 exaggerated examples that can visually stretch your imagination and then make you smile and chuckle about it, thinking about it. That is how it is. Imagine yourself attending this session, sitting on a chair or a sofa like the Emperor Akbar, with your younger brother bringing you a roux afza glass, a glass of lemonade, and you are probably sipping it with the kind of kingly leisure. The moment I ask you to switch on your profile, the video here, perhaps you will look for where is your trouser, because let's face it, most of us are attending it in our shorts with a t-shirt or something on the top. But this is how probably exaggeration can work. I know half of you are sincere, but probably even if you are wearing completely formal, you will visualize, your imagination can stretch, and you can laugh about how the situation is over here. Or maybe this is what exaggeration does to any environment. It can just liven it up. So this lively kind of setting, if need to develop, exaggeration is the tool for you. Better than a lie, lesser than the truth, somewhere in the middle. Well, that is all about storytelling around these 5 elements. There can be many more things to it. You may feel free to now raise your hand and share it, or you may ask a question on these 5 elements. My time is up to 26. I have taken precisely 55 minutes. Over to you now, Sajid Atam. So please help me facilitate the Q&A around it.
Thank you, Mr. Storyteller, par excellence. And I hope everyone enjoyed that session. And I'm pretty sure that either every one of us has got questions, or every one of us is going to be an excellent storyteller. And nothing will please Anant more than you beating him at his game. So if you have any questions, the floor is open. I would like to see a raise of hands first. So I see Zeenat raising her hand. Zeenat, if you could unmute yourself and possibly turn on your video and ask a question.
Good afternoon. Unfortunately, I won't be able to turn on my video.
Perfectly fine. Please go ahead, ask your question.
I hope I'm audible enough. So I had to ask you, sir, that there was this point where you said about believable, right? And I felt at that moment that you were missing out that fictional point of view of a storytelling. Like there are times when we think about things that aren't even possible, but they go on a hit. And an example of that is the South Indian movies where a person's heart is flying from the freaking building and going to another person's body, which is like not even logical, not even possible. I don't know like how to explain this, but unfortunately we love that. We just love that and we share it a lot and that goes viral. So maybe that can also come in storytelling somehow.
So thank you so much for that wonderful point raised. Let me just tie it back to my centerpiece. C, context. How it is more important than you can think of. Remember when I said the first 1 minute, the context is more important than the entire story, the entire speech, even the climax, is because your mind gets attuned to it. If you start your story in a fictional kingdom of Winterfell, where there is a family of Starks, imagining a dragon somewhere over there or a werewolf is not a tall order. It is believable, possible. But if you are somewhere in let's say DDLJ, and you see somewhere Shah Rukh Khan riding on a dragon, that seems out of place, out of time, out of place. That is where even with all the nice technologies leveraged in South Indian movies, the moment you see a heart flying, getting implanted, and the doctor cutting the cord with his teeth, it becomes laughable. And that is how the movie is then labeled or branded. It is an utter garbage, but may make you laugh. beating your expectations. So if you don't take that movie as a emotional tale, it is a laughable or a laughter riot. That is how you take it. If you made something, let's say a speech or a movie, if you present it sincere, if it's an international contest, speech contest speech, ISC speech, do you want to be taken as a string of jokes, laughable ones, no moral out of it? Or you want to have it placed as a motivational speech, perhaps, persuasive speech with a call to action, somewhere with like salt in the curry kind of humor, exaggeration? So you need to find that balance over there. South Indian movie probably is suitable example for a humorous speech. While Rupinder will disagree, but probably it will be. While a sincere attempt like a Game of Thrones, an Inception, an Interstellar, you need to stay true to the limitations of your world. And that is how you need to make it believable within the context. Context is the king. Even if you have heard content is the king, I give you a new phrase today. Context is the king. Nammo, my good friend from Hyderabad, has raised her hand. Rupinder, please unmute her, and Namrata Biswas, let her ask question.
You are unmuted. You're free to ask your question.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
First of all, thank you so much for the prompt response. I forgot to register and I've joined the meet, and it's a wonderful system that you are following, and I love, and it's so good to see Anant after so long. So it feels wonderful. Thank you for this wonderful session here. Okay, so my question, I'll keep it short because I have to move on to my meeting as well. I have a question that what we understand that storytelling is an art or a skill for communication. Do you think that we should, like what we understand in Toastmaster context, we are using it only as a means for speech purpose? But do you think that we can use it as a communication tool in everyday communications, whether corporate or daily life? And if so, in your opinion, how do we, what approach should be followed that we don't get too carried away by just storytelling, but keep it to the point of our context and communication?
Two things over here. Remember, if you have attended the session from the beginning, I started with the purpose of the storytelling. Purpose is, it is a visual tool and it is an emotional tool. It leaves an emotional mark better than the logic, facts, figures, numbers, and it creates a kind of visual experience for you. The moment you hear about slow and steady wins the race, you think of two animals in a jungle, probably a kangaroo or a lion standing as a bystander. The two animals I would not name because every one of you know which two animals I'm talking about, but that is the power of a story. It is a visual form. So in offices, let's say, to your question, not just as a verbal speeches in Toastmasters, even in your offices, when you talk to your kids, when you give a written exam, when you undergo a written exam, the kind of structuring that you do around your examples, supporting materials, if you slide in a story, that works better than probably most other things. Even in your PPTs, though that's not under the purview of this session, even in your PPTs, instead of telling 25%, showing 4 characters, icons, 3 of them black, 1 of them white, gives me a visual kind of mental image, visual kind of description that stays with me better than that number. 25% I can forget. That image of 4 bowling pins, 1 of them black, 3 of them white, etc., or vice versa, that remains with me. 75% of the earth is water. Now show that with a blue ball, 1/4 of it as a landmass, 3/4 of that as a blue kind of sea. That stays in my mind. Storytelling is all about that. Talk with words which are powerful, which are visually descriptive, which are having a kind of structure that we discussed over the session. It will have an emotional impact on your audience's mind. And that is how, not just in speeches, use it everywhere possible. Everywhere.
Perfect.
Hope I answered your question.
Yes.
Sanjay Godara has raised his hand. Rupinder?
Yeah, and before I move on to Sanjay, 2 things. Shah Rukh flying a dragon is not outside of my realm of imagination, and possibly for the first time, I saw Anant blush today. So, Sanjay, now you can ask your question.
Yes, hello Anant. I think you have explained it very well. I was hearing Javed Akhtar and he once said that we always need some craft to deliver a story, right? So you tell that we first set a context, then the body. So the last part I did not understand a little bit. So can you brief me about the last conclusive
What was
part?
the last part? Which one? Which one?
Like
the
the
last one?
Context, body, and the last conclusive part that
Exaggeration.
Yeah, I mean how to finish the
Okay,
story.
okay. Got it. So I gave this example for a table topic yesterday, but I think this will fit here as well. Have you seen a toffee? A candy. I am a fan of those toffees which are not under a wrapper. You have to not tear them with mouth. Those which are, twistable kind of wrapper. It needs to be opened at one end, swallowed, or fit into the wrapper, and then twisted at the other end to close it off. So that twisting, opening and closing at either end, this is all about a speech. You open a speech with a little bit of twisting. I think the visual size is comparable. You open a speech by opening like a box, giving them your audience a glimpse into something. Then you support all that with as detailed possible within the time limit, a story, one story, two story, three story, and then you tie it back again, close it off with this analysis or moral of the story or your call to action, the thing that you want your audience to do after that. Stories alone may not be useful to most. They may find it entertaining enough, informative enough. Some of them may find it persuasive or motivational. They may find their own call to action to it. So not to let your audience wander off with their own interpretations. You give them a glimpse into one specific line of thought, you support it with a story, and then cap it off with the same line of thought so that there is a singular message from your end to your audience. Now, your audience is free to find their own interpretation other than that as well, but they will not be ignoring this one line which you felt as a moral of the story. Slow and steady wins the race. You know how the story was. The story's interpretation can be, I don't care if the rabbit lost, but at least he got some sleep. If you are an IT employee, that may be the moral of the story for you. I don't know, perhaps. But as a children, as an educator, you need to give them a particular moral of the story. As a storyteller, as a craftsman, you have an obligation to fulfill this complete meal for your audience. You cannot just give them rajma chawal or chola bhatura. You need to have that gulab jamun at the end, a sweet, salty, or kind of a dessert for them to savor upon it even later. That is what makes these speeches, these stories memorable. The one-liner or an analysis kind of paragraph kind of moral of the story. To your question, how do you conclude? Well, within the middle part, your story starts and ends. Have your own analysis after it. I will show you with a live example. Depending on with your permission, I will now take 2 minutes to 3 minutes to share a brief anecdote. It is all about my neighborhood. While growing up, next to my house, there used to live a Jain family. A husband, his wife, his 3 wonderful, bright young kids, and a grumpy old father. Well, the husband used to stay in Lucknow, long, far away from Rajasthan. It's in Uttar Pradesh, UP, another state in India. You know how the geographies are. His wife, his children, his grumpy old father used to live here. Now, he stayed many years over there, probably 20 plus years. He had to stay away from the family because he could not take his family away. Then who will take care of the grandfather? He could not shift to here as well because his job was there. So long distance family needed to be maintained. While we used to gossip and, rumor about that this old grandfather is immortal. Many of his peers in our neighborhood, including my own grandfather, They passed away in their due time. But this nonagenarian 90-year-plus old grandfather, he was like the old grand old A.K. Hangal from Sholay movie. He was old in 1975. He was old even 5 years back. So point here was, this old grandfather would not move away from here. And we were just wondering how long the status quo is maintained. Finally, one day, the man of the house decided, enough is enough. I will take every one of them. Even my old father, against his wishes, I will take him away with me. He took them away to a city called Lucknow in UP. Barely 15 days later, we heard that the grandfather has passed away. It was something kind of a shock for us, but then again, we were kids, we didn't understand much. We were happy again, beginning in our gossiping that, see, his power was in the house. The farther he was from the house, the weaker he became, and that's how he died. But then now later on today, when I look at myself, probably staying probably a month over in my own house, first time in my life. You know, my first time, because I have never been for so long in my own house here in my village. I was always away for studies, right from my kindergarten. Even before I started schooling, I used to live away with my own uncles and aunts in a nearby city with my nanaji, my maternal grandparents and my granduncles. My uncles and aunts. So only in the holidays for 10 days, 7 days, I used to come back home. Today is the first time I have completed more than 1 month in my own house. So I feel probably a discomfort after staying over here for a month and going to a new place again in Gurgaon or maybe Delhi. Imagine what would have happened, what would have that grand old man would have felt like staying in that house for his entire life, and suddenly one day taken away to a distant place, an unfamiliar place, where he could not even find any of his friend of his own generation. His own grandkids would not talk to him for that long. He was kind of a prisoner in that place. It's like a banyan tree who was uprooted, 190-year-old banyan tree uprooted, shifted to another place. No wonder it died. Well, that is the story, and my moral of the story is, home is where the heart is. You need to stay connected to your roots. The moment you get disconnected, you will wither and die like that old banyan tree named Jain Sahib in my neighborhood. Well, how about this story? Now, I had a story, but I added 1 or 2 lines at the end of it to conclude within this 2 to 3 minute of time frame. So the original question asked by, who asked the question?
Sanjay.
Sanjay. So Sanjay, do you now see how to cap off or close or conclude this story along
Yes,
with the...
Anant, I think in this beautiful story, I have focused on the last part. I was more focused like how you will conclude. And yes, I got it. Like.
Thank you so much. Rupinder, questions, please.
Okay. Does anyone else have a question for Anand?
I haven't had a look at the chat box. If there is any question, you can please pick it from there as well.
Yes, I have only one question to Anant, and that is, Anant, that particular statement that you made, that Rupinder is going to love the Rasgulla, is not the right thing to say, because for him, Rajma Chawal, pizza, and the dollop of ice cream is what it's all about.
So that is where one thing works, and I would like to probably end this sermon with that one line of nugget that I picked from my mentor Rajshekhar Mamidana in Hyderabad, who is, by the way, going to roast me this evening in a club milestone meeting. So he used to say, as a stand-up comedian professional, he used to say, despite all your best efforts, you cannot please everyone. There will always be not more than 80% of audience who will connect with your story or speech. Focus on those 80%, never worry about 20%. Rupinder, I don't worry about you.
Oh my God, that's a big statement.
Among friends, yes.
Yeah. Thank you. That was nice.
Thank you, Surinder sir, for keeping it light and humorous.
Thank you.
Perfectly okay, Anant. There's a very apt quote for this moment. You might be the ripest, juiciest peach in the world, but you will always find someone who hates peaches, and you can't do anything about that. So now, does anybody else have a question?
Yeah, I just have one question. In the invites that you sent, you had a few dates on which you have mentioned the program. Subsequent dates, is this the repeat of this particular thing? Okay, that's it.
Yes.
That's what I. Thank you.
So, Sharinder sir, to your question, we are going to have these sessions every Sunday wherein we are looking to enrich the masses with whatever lessons we have learned from Toastmasters, and hope that it will help in people either joining Toastmasters or appreciating us for our efforts. As Toastmasters, we often have to bear the brunt of our families asking us just exactly what is it that you people do. So perhaps this in some way answers that question. That is our humble attempt.
Yes, perfect.
Thank
You
you.
have one question?
Do we have a question from the audience?
Yes. So would you like to share any book name or web link where we can enhance our storytelling skill set?
I probably can share a couple of things. The books which have influenced me a lot with their own storytelling techniques. One of them is the entire Harry Potter series. After reading the first 2 or 3 books, I didn't realize that this is where the storyteller is planning her conclusion. By the end, I reached the 7th book. The kind of twist that she had on Severus Snape's character. Well, that is probably the most genius I have ever read in a storytelling. Another book that has moved me a lot is The Alchemist. How the story ends circularly right from it begins without spoiling it for you. That is another masterstroke by Paulo Coelho for me. And the last but not the least, the treasure trove of Mahabharata, a very thick embodied, a thick book I was given by my grandfather when I was young. I read it completely in Hindi. Some of the stories that we see on TV or movies or adapted into movies, perhaps the writing is far more richer. So do read short tales from Mahabharata. They will enhance your storytelling a lot. And of course, it doesn't hurt to follow my YouTube channel with the same name, Kathakari. Marketing done.
Anand, if I may also say that the best way to learn storytelling is actually telling stories.
True.
Because stories have always been around us, and just pick it up and keep telling people, and you'll see yourself that you will be able to bring in the word you used, mirch masala, and enhance your story. So I believe, yes, you can read books, but you yourself must experiment with your own stories, your personal stories.
In fact, we do that often during the day. It's just that whenever we are under a spotlight as a speaker, supposed to tell a keynote speech or a story, that is where we find it, oh, I can't do it. But the moment you are among your friends, bantering, gossiping, water cooler moments in office, tea, coffee, cafes, sitting with a child, sitting with an elderly figure in house, we indulge in stories, exchanging nuggets. It's just that spotlight makes us nervous. So be conscious, tell those stories. You find the stories away from the spotlight. Note them down mentally on a piece of paper. If it has left an emotional imprint, it can be recalled by just the right trigger whenever you think, and you have a story in the making. A lot of people who struggle with finding speech topics just focus on the words happiness, sadness, surprise. All these keywords will trigger some kind of personal memory. That is the story already there in this, box.
Very true. Very true. Actually, some lady asked you this question that in my office, when I have to, if I remember the question correctly, it was about something like when she is in a meeting and she's going to deliver something. I personally believe that every time you talk to anyone, you're actually telling a story. It's actually telling a story. There is something which you are going to pick up and then use it. And therefore, the fallacy which people have in their minds is that a story is something which is not alien to what we communicate. Every time we talk, we are talking about a story. There's some story that we are giving to people.
Take your own example right away. As I said, you need not be a fictional original writer.
Absolutely.
You can leverage someone else's content and then personalize it and tell your own opinion as a story. For example, you just picked up a statement told by someone else in this session. You said it as verbatim as possible, and then you added your own analysis about it. Was a story in itself.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I would just to answer Abhinav's original question, and I'll take the liberty of disagreeing with Anant over here. Abhinav, you will never learn swimming by reading about it. The same goes for storytelling. Okay.
Yes, noted.
Do we have anyone else who has a question?
Any feedback will also do about this initiative?
Yes, I was about to come to that. So I am now going to turn on that magic mode, which is called the gallery view. And I'm going to pick people randomly, and I'm going to ask them the one thing that they learned from the session today. And Adriana, you're first. So the one thing that you learned from this session today, the one takeaway from the session.
Hello. Well, basically, is be authentic, be yourself. This is the most important thing in a content. Well, at the moment to tell a story, and also how to engage the people is entertain the people and make your story fun and make the people be engaged. And well, this is that I take. And thank you, Anant, because your session was really good and this initiative is really good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Shaurendra sir.
Yes. What will I say? This guy is absolutely amazing. I believe one thing which he made in passing, but it was a very powerful statement. The story has to be authentic. And therefore, if you add your personal story, it becomes authentic, believable. The context is therefore there. And since it's your own story, the depth will come by itself. And it's now your way of telling the story by exaggerating it or making it more entertaining. That will be the difference between a good storyteller like Anant and someone who's not as good as him. So I believe this was an absolute complete program where I'm amazed, Anant, how much you've looked into things. Yes. Exactly. I agree with you. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to ask Deepa next. Deepa, what is your one takeaway? Deepa Tarak Balaji.
Hi. So yeah, I think my one takeaway is like exaggeration is good. So, in a context. So, and yeah, it was a very entertaining session.
Okay.
Look forward to your humorous speeches, Deepa.
I am going to ignore my president Nimit Mittal because he is from Turning Point Toastmasters and he can always give his opinions later. Moving on to Sanjay. Sanjay, what is the one thing that you will take away?
So the way Anant explained it, I learned that I thought on it for myself. Like whenever I tell stories to others, I tell it not in any organized way. Like I have learned this, like you just need to a little bit take care of like a craft in the story. So I think that like you need to context and the body. So I learned the way how stories being. And
Okay.
Anant, you did a very lovely session. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Moving on to Akanksha. Akanksha, what did you learn today?
It was a very informative session. And
audio is coming garbled. Could you please check at your end? If you want, I can move on to the next speaker.
Am I audible enough?
Your audio jack probably may have a problem. So if you remove the headphone, speak directly, that will be much audible.
So am I clear now?
Yes,
Loud and
yes,
clear.
absolutely.
Am I clear now, Rupinder?
Yes, yes, you are clear.
Okay, so first of all, thank you, Anand. It was a very informative session. I have attended such kind of session for the first time. So one of the most important thing, which is the takeaway for me, is the ABCD approach. And it will it is the process which I have learned for telling the stories to the client. So I will try to apply, and on the part of the entertainment, like you mentioned about the humor and all, I have to learn that. So I think that is all the takeaway for me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I will now ask Abhinav what was his takeaway.
Yes, thank you, Anand, for this session. For me, I have noted many points. So for me, there are many takeaway. So start from how to identify a story, then he told how to tell a story. So it was very good session. Thank you, Anand.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I will ask Yashwant to chip in.
Yes, thank you so much. Good to see Anand after long. Hyderabad distance has been quite long from the yes. And yeah, your uprooted banyan tree example has permanently put a seed of this visual exaggeration in me. So I think I'll never forget this. Yeah, thank you so much, Anand. Pleasure to hear you. Thank you.
Thank you, boss.
And let's move over to one of the most enthusiastic Toastmasters I'm seeing in the recent days, Nimisha Singla. She unmuted herself. She knew that I was talking about her.
Because I was going through the participant list and I'm only left. Thank you so much, Rupinder. And for me, first of all, the takeaway was that, yes, I truly agree that 1 minute of context in that speech truly grasps the audience to you. You know, the stick. That is the first thing which I really got. And the ABCD approach and being in the Toastmasters, to be a good speaker, I wanted to be a motivation speaker in the future. And these kind of things are, gems for me, which will help me be a better speaker and, really make a difference. And context, and then moving on to the exaggeration. Obviously, we sometimes think that, okay, aren't we writing much in this speech? I mean, is it much? But what Anand has defined an exact amount, the percentage of things should be there in your speech, is really great. And I really thank Rupinder as well as Anand for this great session today. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Nimisha.
very
You are
much,
also
Nimisha.
fabulous yesterday.
We have Dheeraj to give us his thoughts. Let's go on to Dheeraj. Dheeraj, if you could unmute yourself.
Hello, it is audible?
Yes.
First,
What's the one key takeaway from the session for you?
Yes. First, I want to say that thank you very much, Anand. It was a nice one, and in future also, if this was the first time I have attended, but yes, it is a nice one because I am in corporate. We usually use this method, but we are not aware of these things. So thank you once again, and I came to know that if in corporate also we can use your technique, means that start, body, and conclusion. So that we know that, but yes, I know means in the format right now. So I am really thankful, Anand. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now let's move on to Manish. Manish, what did you learn?
First of all, thank you, Anand, for the great session on a Sunday afternoon, that too. So my key takeaway was the use of adjectives in able to describe the story in a more condensed way. So currently I feel I'm a little verbose. So compare it to the people who I follow or the people's blog who I read who are generally native speakers. So they are able to condense such great amounts of things in a few paragraphs. And then I look at my speech or something I write, which fills an entire page. And I think to myself that, I mean, come on, this doesn't deserve a page. I mean, it could be summed down in 2 or 3 lines. And why the hell do I need a one pager for this? So, I mean, that's something I could see, but I didn't know how to work on it. So now I have a clear vision of maybe what I need to do in regards to this. So that was helpful. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. I would now ask Sachin to provide us with his perspective.
So writing is something that I'm trying to do first time in my life nowadays because I've joined in Toastmasters and I'm struggling to deliver a 5 to 7 minutes impromptu speech. So bringing a structure, I was struggling with writing, and during this session, I think the methodology which I had heard earlier, which was 5 W's and H, and Anant, you beautifully put it in a right manner, wherein you talked about when, where, and who to set up the context. As you actually use the example of imagining a war from a one particular year and imagining not the swords, but the guns and the other stuff. And then coming the problem with what, and then moving down to solution with how, and then finally concluding it with why as a moral of the story. So I really love this approach. Thank you, Anand. Thank you, Rupinder. And it's a great initiative by Turning Point. I really wish you good luck for doing these wonderful sessions more.
Thank you so very much. It is indeed a pleasure to be able to do this to you. Rajesh.
Hi, Rupinder. Are you able to hear me properly?
Yes, yes.
Good. Okay. So I never, in my 14 years in the IT, I never attended a single Toastmaster training or sessions. So this is the first time I attended. Even I was very shy in the public speakings. So when I heard from Deepa that yes, there is a session going on, so immediately I joined. I register my sessions. And what I learned from here that though I know a lot of stories, but I don't know how to start. So once after these meetings only I got to know that yes, there is so many methodologies are there that how to start and how you can use the in your day-to-day life also. That is the second things I learned from here. Thank you, Anand. Thank you, Rupinder.
Thank you, and we move on to Dikshant.
Thank you, Rupinder. And I'm thankful to Anand for giving such a wonderful session. I got to learn the ABCDE approach for storytelling, as I've just started with Toastmasters and speech writing. And Anand was the mentor of our club in the previous term. I've already listened to him a lot, and it was really a wonderful session and will definitely help me in writing stories for my speeches. So thank you,
Dikshant
Anand.
over here is a fantastic humorous speaker. And Dikshant, please invite us whenever you deliver your next speech. I'm sure after the session, you can use exaggeration tool a bit more.
Sure. I will definitely use it and invite you all to our club meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dikshant. Now, before I close the session, there is a quote that I don't exactly remember, but it comes from Mark Brown, the world champion of public speaking, 1995. And it comes from a movie called Speak, which is focused on the 2011 World Championship of Public Speaking. You can find it on YouTube. But it goes something like this. The quote is that your life tells a story. And as long as you have a story to tell, it doesn't matter if your story is not sensational. It does not have to be sensational. It has to be sincere. And if you can tell your story, then you will find people who are willing to listen to you. And if you can tell it in a sincere manner, you will find people who will listen to you. So on that note, thank you very much, Anant, for conducting this wonderful session. To the people who attended, thank you very much. I would strongly urge to attend our meeting this Thursday, 6:45 p.m. onwards, and our next Sunday session, which starts at 1:30 p.m. India time. I now hand it back to the presiding officer to close the meeting.
So Rupinder, just one thing. You told that in the Thursday also there is another session going on. What time it is and how to register for that one?
For the Thursday meeting?
Yes.
I will share the link on the chat itself so that you can register.
Okay, thank you.
So just to clarify, these sessions we are having on Sunday are our knowledge sharing sessions. Whatever we have learned, not just me, many others which we have learned from Toastmasters in a regular Toastmasters framework, we are sharing that lessons or learnings with everyone on the Sunday sessions, 1 hour. This is just about a knowledge exchange session where we are also learning. On Thursday meetings, we have a fully structured Toastmaster meeting following the same structure across the globe. That is our regular meeting where you can take part and get a chance to speak as well. So look forward to see you all there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
So I'm just going to take a minute, and I just pasted our Thursday meeting URL. Please bookmark it or at least copy it. Or if you click on it, you can register for our meeting. Nimit, why don't you give your closing thoughts and then we will close the meeting.
Thank you very much, DTM Rupinder, and indeed a very big thanks to you, DTM Anand. You are indeed a master storyteller, and we know now why. So I hope we all now are ready after knowing the elements of storytelling, the ABCDE. We might have learned ABCDE while when we were at school, but this ABCD, let me tell you, would help you win the world, win the game of life. It will help you to be a great influencer, a great friend, and whatnot. So let us practice the skill and make it our art. And whatnot, why not pepper our life with this magical spice? With that thought, go and win the world. Thank you very much. And with that, let me close the meeting for today. And looking forward to you all in our next session. Same time, same place, same link. And of course, you are all invited to the Thursday meeting, for which the link has been shared now by Rupinder on the chat. Thank you very much. See you again.
Thank you.